No game before or after Uncharted 2 has been able to match its impeccable pacing. It immediately grips you by putting Nathan Drake in an extremely perilous situation that suddenly puts pressure on the player to climb their way out. There's no context to it, just this. It's one of the most iconic openings in any video game. It hooks you right away and keeps you moving forward without a single dull moment. But then right as you jump to safety, narrowly avoiding death, it flashes back, showing Nate in a completely opposite situation. At peace, sipping a beer on a warm beach until an old colleague approaches about a job. The entire first chapter lasts about 15 minutes. It cuts back and forth between the exciting possibilities of a treasure hunt and the chaotic train wreck, bouncing between tension and background details, knowing damn well we all need to know how Nathan wound up here. Introductory levels can often be slogs, bombarding the player with exposition or tutorials to teach us how to play. But Uncharted 2 respects our time. It throws us into the thick of it, quickly giving us the rundown mid-gameplay and introducing us to a couple new characters in Harry and Chloe, but we quickly learn that Chloe and Nate are in cahoots, providing even more intrigue for the upcoming heist.
When I figured out he was actually onto something, I thought you'd want to be in on the action.
The chapter ends with Drake bloodied and freezing, picking up an artifact of unknown significance. But then it jumps back a few weeks prior. It cuts to them in the dead of night, approaching the museum, making a point that they are not to kill anybody. This is coming from a guy who murked 585 dudes in the first game. I know this because I counted them all. You should check that video out after this, if you want to. Anyways, we quickly navigate the sewers and climb into the museum grounds, where we are thrust into a stealth mission. This is a first for the series and feels like a bit of whiplash after the opening sequence. Personally, I love stealth, but I totally get that a lot of people don't, especially when it's a forced mechanic. Mary Jane and Spider-Man. But Uncharted 2 navigates it in a smart way by getting you in and out of it within 15 to 20 minutes. It's pushed forward with Harry Flynn's help and Nate's quick knockout animations that are broken up by the classic Uncharted climbing sections until you either KO or sneak your way to the end goal. Side note, I feel like this game really popularized the yellow paint or the yellow markers to indicate where to go next. I know there were games before it that utilized it. I'm pretty sure Mirror's Edge might have done that too, but I started seeing it more commonly used after this game came out. And now there's this whole online discourse on how obnoxious the yellow paint is. But for Uncharted, it was a game changer. There were several times in the first game where it wasn't always clear where to jump to next, which resulted in an often frustrating death. So Naughty Dog smartly highlighted these areas, which is another major reason for this game's snappy pacing. It's constantly showing you where to go, constantly keeping you on the move instead of halting gameplay to a screeching halt because you're confused on how to proceed. Finally, Nate and Harry find the artifact, and in a moment that would infuriate Indiana Jones, they smash it. What follows is a scene that is all too common in Uncharted and in similar movies like National Treasure or The Da Vinci Code. The characters draw on their vast wealth of historical knowledge to piece together clues and connect dots that seem so outlandish to us normies. But I think it's fun as hell, and I honestly kind of love it. It's probably because my memory recall is such trash, even if I knew the answer, it would take me a week to remember it.
Shambhala. Oh my God, Flynn. What? Marco Polo found Shambhala. Shangri-La. You're joking.
Nate is so fascinated by this that he completely forgets they are there illegally, without a way to defend themselves, and if caught, will be tossed into a foreign prison and become the booty warrior's favorite shower time snack. It's so over the top, but his overwhelming glee with this new discovery is about to come crashing down.
Wait, Flynn, we had a plan.
No, you had a plan. Turns out I've got one of my own.
Harry doesn't want to kill Nate though. He wants to doom him to a lifetime with the booty warrior and draws in the attention of the guards. This leads to a hectic chase sequence where now we have to dodge gunfire and improvise a way out at the same time. So within the first hour, Uncharted 2 puts us into a life or death climbing section, followed by explosions and wreckage, then a stealth level that ends with the reveal of a mythical utopia, which leads us to betrayal and even more chaos. It moves at breakneck speed and introduces new mechanics, new characters, and several different gameplay loops at the same time. I mean, this game moves so quickly, even an iPad kid would be entertained. By changing settings, goals, and gameplay elements, it doesn't fall into a pattern of shoot, kill, and jump. It aims to keep up the tension throughout, while also providing brief moments to breathe a little before you move on. But even when Nathan Drake loses, he always finds a way out with or without help. You know, those 3 months he spent in Turkish prison were spent seething because all he thought about was Marco Polo's expedition to Shangri-La and how he could find it before Harry Flynn. It's this short scene with Sully bailing him out and they're teaming up with Chloe that sets the rest of the game in motion. Like Uncharted 1, Nate wants to beat their rival to the goal by outwitting them and just killing them outright when faced with confrontation. The next chapter puts us back into a familiar jungle environment, reminding us that this series is rooted in these types of set pieces. Most of Uncharted 1 took place within jungles and ancient ruins, so returning to this setting is a quick reminder of where the franchise began. We don't linger here too long though, and it does give us plenty of guys to shoot. But ultimately, it serves as a vehicle to introduce us to the primary villain, Zoran Lazarevich, who we see right away is a deranged psychopath.
No, Zoran, I can't explain.
No need.
While Harry is over there looking like he pooped his pants, Nate kinda gets off on messing with these types of villains. Earlier, Nate and Sully, after killing loads of dudes, set up explosives to distract Lazarevich and lure him away so they could steal his shit. Nate realizes this dude has been obsessing over Marco Polo in his discovery of Shambhala. So kinda like that little douche sitting next to you in class, copying your work, Nate just takes the easy route and uses all of this information in front of him to quickly draw a conclusion to where Polo's shipwrecked crew was hiding out. They're just higher up on the nearby mountain to get away from a tsunami. Not exactly the most difficult solution to suss out given the vast amounts of information Lazarevich compiled, but it just shows the level of intelligence Nate is up against here. Lazarevich hired Flynn to solve these things, but bro has as many IQ points as letters in his full name apparently. Thankfully for Nate, Sully, and Chloe, they are racing dummies to the punch. But they're heavily armed dummies that Nate needs to Swiss cheese to proceed. Then just like that, we are back in some ruins, where we find the artifact Nate pulls from the snow in Chapter 1. We learn it's some sort of key and a map provides their next destination. They leave the ruins, but not before Chloe feigns yet another betrayal to maintain her undercover status within Lazarevich's crew. This results in another chase sequence where you need to avoid getting shot, and this is where you start to understand the rhythm the game is going to fall into. It's a mix of intense action sequences that contain shooting, platforming, or a mixture of both, broken up by some light puzzles, some character interactions, with a little bit of stealth sprinkled in. While I'm breaking these down into some simple sounding parts, it's the way they are dropped into place throughout the game that makes the pacing so good. We bounce between these moments, so none of them really overstay their welcome, and like Nate and Sully, we move on to the next chapter. Suddenly, we find ourselves in a much different environment than we've seen thus far. Nate travels to a war-torn Nepal, navigating a city populated with soldiers. It's a major change to anything we've experienced in the series up to this point. While there is plenty of shooting going on in this level, it varies the action so you're not just mindlessly blasting your way through until you get to the temple. The level starts with a short Crash Bandicoot-like moment where Nate is running away from an armored truck, until it crashes and burns. Then he has to run away from and eventually face a helicopter as it fires missiles at him, destroying buildings and just straight up causing a ton of havoc. These scenes are flashy and impressive as hell, even 16 years later. We know with our help, Nate is getting out of this, but in the moment it makes you feel so fucking cool when you narrowly escape these insane near-death experiences, especially when you nail it the first time. Uncharted 1 is a good game and everything, and it laid the groundwork for the franchise, but after playing its sequels, the game just doesn't hold up all that well in comparison. It's still fun, but it feels subdued compared to what came after. Except for the Descendants. God damn, the end of that game took a sudden turn towards horror, didn't it?
Oh bro, what the fuck are those?
Eventually, after getting through the city and running into Elena, then finding the temple, naturally Lazarevich shows up again. This time, he meets Drake face to face, telling him to suck his Lazara dick. Nate politely declines, which causes the meathead mercenary to claim he never wanted Nate anyway. So he kidnaps Chloe after finally realizing she isn't really on his side. He takes her to a train, and that's when a light bulb goes off. We are about to see the train wreck from the very beginning. At this point, we've been playing for about 3.5 to maybe 4 hours, and it certainly hasn't felt like it, I'll tell you what. These chapters on the train are so damn good. They have no idea Nate is on board, so we are back to stealthily moving through it. But unlike the museum, you have a choice on whether or not you want to approach it that way. Regardless of how you do it, things will escalate until the mercenaries are fully aware of your presence. All the while, the train just keeps on moving, creating this illusion of constant movement. But if you just idle there on top of the train, you'll eventually see that it makes an entire 360-degree loop. Naughty Dog seamlessly blends the environment, so unless you're really looking for it, you won't even notice. But if you watch Nate's shadow, it will move around him a full 360 degrees since the lighting system was never going to be overhauled for this specific moment. Eventually, when you reach this high-walled train car that triggers the game to move into the next area, it leads into a tunnel that puts us right back into another loop, this time on a snowy mountain. I think this shit is just so cool. I just love learning about the creative tricks developers do to create these memorable moments that you may not even notice unless you stop to consider how it's made. This entire train battle is a perfect encapsulation of this game condensed into a couple of chapters. It uses every gameplay element it's introduced so far and has you navigate your way up the train, constantly moving forward just like the train, until disaster strikes. And we are right back where the game began. Typically, retreading or backtracking is a pace killer, but this part is condensed, so it never feels that way. You still climb the train as you did a few hours prior, but you can do so quickly, and it skips right to that scene with Nate picking up the artifact in the snow. Nate is the luckiest dude alive, somehow narrowly surviving catastrophe and always finding a way to decimate mercenary armies, and winds up exactly where he needs to be when he needs to be there. Honestly, he could just play the lottery and be set for life, using that money to fund his treasure hunts, but I guess the legality of these things provides some thrill for him. But then again, unluckily for him, these trips always lead to encountering some terrifying supernatural shit. I remember playing through this in 2009, and in the back of my mind, I was constantly wary of something like this. That's because Uncharted 1's sudden shift into horror took me by surprise and made what was a fun, relaxing, humorous game and turned it into a stressful run and shoot for your life game. I love horror, but I had no idea it was going to turn into that, so I fully expected Uncharted 2 to do something similar. And while it did add a supernatural element, it didn't shift the game's tone at all. With that being said, fuck the Guardians, I hate them, and I'm glad they collapsed alongside Shambhala. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Nate and his guide Tenzin narrowly escape those cryptid-looking shits, and as they make it above ground, it's clear they can't stop for a breather yet, because the small town is under attack and we already know who's to blame. This next part is probably my favorite action sequence in the entire game, and it's not just because I shot this guy in the dick. It's because it's one of the most intense firefights in the entire franchise. The town actually feels like it's in peril, with dozens of mercenaries overrunning it from every direction. Nate is forced to utilize cover to stay alive, but can't remain still for too long, otherwise risks getting flanked or blown up by a grenade. Then, after about 20 to 30 minutes of almost non-stop action, the game still doesn't let up. a fucking tank rolls in like, what up, I'm a tank. Adding a new wrinkle into the fold as you continue to murk the mercs, while simultaneously avoiding instant obliteration from the tank until you're finally gifted some RPGs to blow it up. For me, this beats out the helicopter sequence from earlier, even though that one wins on pure spectacle. It nearly edges out the train battle as well, despite how impressive that is. But this particular fight is just pure video game goodness. And it's a series highlight in a franchise that is absolutely filled with memorable moments. You barely even catch your breath before it just pushes you on to the next action sequence, which culminates with Nate hunting even more mercenaries down in some old Tibetan city as the Guardians start to do the same. It legitimately begins to feel like a race to the end at this point in the game. Lazara bitch stole the key to Shambhala, and Nate is seeking to get that back. But like I mentioned earlier, Nate is the luckiest guy alive, because this dumbass meathead has a chance to kill him after forcing him into solving a puzzle for him. But instead, he wants to give him the chance to see what they have all been searching for this whole time before he kills him. His decision making is just wild to me. Because A, why let Drake lay his eyes on this supposed utopia, therefore granting some kind of satisfaction before offing him? And B, you give him even more of a chance to escape. This man has proven to be a slippery SOB, so why even chance it? Of course, this guy is dumb as hell and he made a low IQ decision, which allows our heroes to get away when the Guardians show up to lay a beat down on these fools. This puts us into the finale of the game, with the entire final level taking place in the mythical city of Shambhala, where yet again it feels like a race against Lazarevich, who is on the cusp of becoming immortal using the sap from the Tree of Life. One of the things I love so much about this series is how it ties in well-known historical and mythical events, locations, and items, and just kind of weaves them into a somewhat grounded universe. It's very much like Indiana Jones in that way. It's mostly realistic, until it's not. And after killing hundreds of dudes so far, Nate is faced with his toughest fight yet. What's funny is this is all so preventable because he just watches Lazarevich drink the sap. Okay, Nate, you can shoot him anytime now. You can do it right now. Just dome him. He's right there, dude. Okay. Guess I'm just gonna let him drink it. Maybe he just wanted to see what happened, or maybe he was just tired of mindlessly killing people and wanted a challenge. I don't know, but Lazarevich realizes real fast he's not actually immortal in what is probably the most boss fight feeling boss fight in this whole franchise. You just run around the arena as he chases you and you take pot shots at the sap to make it go booming. So it weakens him until the fight eventually ends and the Guardians treat his face like the copier in Office Space. Then after defeating the Merc King, Nathan Drake has to escape the crumbling city in a cinematic escape scene to cap the game off. Within a few short minutes, the game ends, faking Elena's death initially, but providing some relief in her survival, and ending on a happy note. And just like that, 10 hours of your life have passed in an instant. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves is a masterclass in pacing, providing plenty of tense moments that are split up with a perfect mix of humor, puzzles, exploration, and genuine character moments. I think it's up there as one of the most purely fun video games ever made, and every time I sit down to play it, I'm just blown away at what Naughty Dog accomplished on the PS3 back in 2009. It pushed them to the top as one of the best developers in the industry, and it set a standard for cinematic action-adventure games. It's an amazing game I absolutely love, and Uncharted is a franchise I will always remember fondly. But with all that being said, Uncharted 4 is my favorite. If you enjoyed this video, let me know by throwing me a like and comment if you want to see more videos like this. It's a new type of video for me, and I'm just looking to play and talk about the games I love. If you want to see more of my content, YouTube thinks you might like this one showing on the screen, so click it and give it a watch. Or don't.